Hello, everybody, and welcome to TheCreatives Podcast, where we explore creativity through conversation. Our guest today is Pearly Pouponneau. Pearly is a creative director, a provocative artist, community builder, event planner, and much more. In this episode, you can expect to learn about Pearly's creative process and her perspectives, about how she has woven her family and cultural roots into all of her work and the message that she puts out into the world, about how being vulnerable can actually empower you, finding identity and individuality beyond the role of a parent, and much more. This podcast is brought to you by Pouponneau Media. Pouponneau Media is your trusted source for commercial video production and aerial cinematography in and around the Ottawa area. The podcast is also brought to you by Midnight Hour Studios, which is where we are recording today. Midnight Hour Studios is your blank canvas studio space for you to bring your creative ideas to life. All of our sponsors' information will be down in the description below. We encourage you to share this episode with someone you know, someone you love, and spark a conversation about creativity with them. The podcast is available on all major streaming platforms, and you can watch it in 4K on YouTube. So throw it up on your living room TV, sit down, and have a chat with us. Without further ado, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and let's welcome Pearly. Well, welcome, Pearly.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Same. I'm enjoying... the set has changed again.
I love it.
I feel like it fits the vibe of you and your vibes, your outfits. Like, I like it. We have like Tree of Life kind of behind us. If you're watching this on video, watch it on video.
Yeah, watch on video. We look cooler.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. We look super cool.
Yeah, the setup is amazing. This is dope. I love it.
I like it's fun to create a world that, like, it does look good on camera, but it also lets us engage in like an interesting environment, because I'm a big proponent of, like, my environment affects how I think and how I feel.
Totally, yeah.
So I love to curate my environments, or at least cultivate environments that, you know, support different thoughts and stuff. Can you relate to that?
I'm so with you on that. Like, I feel like in everything that I do, even just like existing day to day, the curation of the vibe contributes entirely to like whatever it is that you're doing. Like, from the moment you wake up, whether you're cooking, whether you're like recording something or taking photos, like the vibe needs to be right. You know, when we work under pressure too, I feel like when I'm working under pressure and I'm like super stressed and it's like not vibey, it doesn't come, like whatever I'm producing doesn't come out the same way. But if I have a moment to like really set my own pace, set the tone, it's my world is like limitless, I feel like.
I love that.
Yeah.
How do you slow yourself down?
I feel like I consistently am someone who needs to like move slowly, but I genuinely remind myself, like I'll say things out loud and I'll be like, I'm so tired. Let me drop what I'm doing. I feel like saying it to myself is kind of like that inner maternal dialogue that we all need sometimes, where we like kind of need to nurture ourselves. And I can't thrive in like fast pace. Like, I cannot. Okay. It's too chaotic for me. I was talking about this with someone and they were like, do you have ADHD? And like, yes, I do. But I think also it's a conscious choice.
Like saying you have ADHD?
No, conscious choice to like slow down.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not I'm not just going to play on the things that could affect me potentially negatively. I feel like my ADHD is my superpower, being aware of it and leaning into it and knowing that like, I just can't move through things in a faster pace. So yeah, vibing, slowing down, it's like all part of the process for me.
I love that. That's a good note on self-awareness too. I read something in a book once that made me think a little differently. So you know how sometimes we have that like crazy and like compulsive thoughts going on in our brains?
Oh my God.
And it said, okay, imagine you were speaking those out loud. Like all those thoughts, like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And then like the judgment and then the questioning. Yeah. And if you were to a moment pretend like you were speaking like that to someone else,
oh my God,
out loud, you'd be like, this is insanity.
Yeah.
But because we speak it in our head, it's like we don't necessarily think about that. Yeah. And that helped me a little bit to kind of quiet my brain down. Yeah. Because I find my brain's very noisy a lot of the time.
I agree with that. I think a big part of that is like being present. And it's so like easy to say. I get it. Like sometimes I can't either, but like being present allows us to like stop and be like, get those thoughts out of your brain. But as creatives, like that's not realistic. I'm not here to like preach to anybody. No. Like it's not realistic. And sometimes that is where we get our best ideas, when we're like having, it's almost like manic thoughts, right? It's almost like so many things. And it's like, but wait, stop, slow down, like chill. But wait, I can't let this idea go. And then you're like suddenly bringing it to life somehow. It's those moments. It happens.
Yeah. I find channeling it too, like moving that mental energy into the physical realm has helped me to like, even just simple as writing on paper.
we're humans. Like not everything is supposed to make sense, right? Like sometimes we need to like freak out. Sometimes we need to like calm down. I think it's part of our nature. We have moods.
Yeah.
Right.
Shouldn't always be like calm and perfect.
No, it can't be
composed, and it's tricky because I feel like we see the best version of everyone all the time.
Yes.
When in reality, like, humans are so dynamic and all over the place, and we have weird thoughts and we do weird things, and
it's so true.
You know, but because I feel like a lot of my time spent on like in media is seeing people in their best light. Yeah,
it's true.
That I forget that, you know, this is like 2% of their life, maybe, if that.
I think that like social media in general like contributes to that. I feel like there's a bit of dehumanization, right? Like I think sometimes people see me too and they're like, oh, you're on your shit, oh, you're so cool, you're so calm about it, oh, like how do you stay organized? And I'm like, you think I'm organized? Like I'm losing my shit most of the time too. Like I have no idea. I have to like write everything down. Sometimes if I don't write it down, I don't show up or I completely forget. Even if I have it in like 2 different digital calendars, like we're all just trying to figure it out. I feel like since COVID, especially, we're all winging it. And some of us are like faking it, and that's okay, you know, but like we're really winging it. We're all on the same boat.
All winging it with a bit of a roadmap helps. Yeah. Helps me at least.
Little strategy.
Just some direction.
Yeah.
Helps me, or like, and I have to create that direction for myself a lot of the time.
Same. Yeah. I have like meetings with myself.
Nice.
I don't know if you do that like for any of your creative endeavors, but like I have meetings with myself where I have to like strategize. And this actually going back to like the millions of thoughts that we get, I started getting overwhelmed because like I might have thought of something awesome, but because I thought of a million other things, I would not execute one thing. So I'd have to start writing everything down, and then I would write down like, what do I want to do within the next 6 months? What can I do long term? And what can be like a maybe that might fall off and you won't really care about? That's changed my life actually. And that made me a better business woman. And I know for like creatives, that's hard to navigate as like the business side of it. But by slowing down and like just trying to organize some of the things, I found some organization in the chaos of the creative realm that is my brain.
That's awesome. Writing things down changed my life too. I keep notebooks everywhere.
Yeah,
I have one here. I usually have one in my pocket.
I love that.
In my desk. I have like one beside my bed stand, because you know at night you're just like laying in bed and you just have these crazy thoughts. You're like, oh my God, that's an amazing idea.
It's true.
Roll over, write it down, and go back to sleep.
I love that. And like, there's something about writing it down that really sticks in your mind. Sometimes when we use our notepads on our phone, it's like it goes into the matrix and it just never comes back. And one day I like pull up my notepad and I'm like, oh my God, these thoughts are brilliant. What the fuck? Where did they go?
Buried for 10 months. Yeah. The phone thing, like the reason I don't like to put notes in my phone is because as soon as I open my phone, I will see notifications. Right. And then my brain is interrupted from, I wanted to go on there to make a note, but now I'm thinking about a response to a notification. Yeah.
Now you're ordering coffee and now you're like texting somebody that you didn't text back for 3 months.
Or thinking about a stressful client email that I have to answer.
Oh my gosh.
I just wanted to, and then also owning them. Yeah. One thing also reflecting back and looking back at your notes from like months ago and just reading through that. Yeah. I find it helps me to like stay present.
Yeah, it's true.
Because there was like an exercise in mindfulness where you reflect back to how your day unfolded and you bring yourself to the present moment as you're meditating. Yeah. So doing that with notes helps me to do that, but like on like a week and monthly scale.
I think that's a good way to also like acknowledge that like you have been getting shit done. Yeah. You know, sometimes we like think the list gets longer and longer, but like even if you check one thing off, we should celebrate those little things. Absolutely. You know, even if it's with yourself, just like, yes, I did do something.
It's hard to measure it too.
It is. Yeah. As a creative, though, success is like measured very subjectively for everyone. I feel like.
How do you measure it?
Ooh, you know, I guess it depends. Like being someone who explores creativity in very different ways, I guess it depends. Sometimes with events or like initiatives that like bring the art and activism together, I feel like success is defined by reach, like how many people this can impact. How many people can benefit off of this? Not just reach in terms of like viewing or like gaze, genuinely like reach and impact their life. But sometimes it's just maybe like, you know, for example, if we post something on Instagram, and I'm just using that because it's like the most used platform and it's free. there may be like, 500 likes on one of my posts, but then one DM comes in and this person is like, this was amazing and it impacted me in this way because, or I felt like this, or I can relate for this reason. Like that's a measurement of success as well for me. Ultimately, it's not like based on validation, but it's based on connectivity. My work, I feel like, is so personal sometimes that it's like who connects with it, who it moves, who feels something. Generally, I would say that's how I measure my success. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I want to dive more into your work and kind of what you create. And one thing that does stand out is you are a bold individual.
Thank you.
And it's something that I've kind of struggled with in my life is being bold without the inner dialogue of like quiet down, you know, like keep your voice down. Don't want to step on other people. But what's it like for you, I guess, were you always bold and how does it play out in your life?
Yeah. I feel like we all go through waves in our lives of like different, ebbs and flows of like confidence depending on what we're going through and stuff. But I've always had this sense of like, I know who the fuck I am. And, it's funny because I don't know if it's because of my personality and interests and stuff, but it's always seen as like cheeky or mischievous when you're like younger, as a young brown girl, as a teenager. And even now, like it's seen as, I'm almost seen as like this like person that explores these taboo things openly. But I'm just not afraid to be myself. And I'm also not afraid to like what I like. I have had moments in my life where I had to suppress certain things or keep interests like in the dark and stuff. And of course, like there's still an element of that because we like to keep certain things for ourselves, just for the sacredness of it. But I've always been like just confident. I like that you said bold. Thank you. It's so interesting hearing like, I don't know, power words about yourself. But I feel like a powerful person. So
good. Yeah, no, that's cool. And that definitely does inspire. It inspires me. That's why when I saw you speaking at the ODC event, I'm like, I want to talk to her. I'll have a deeper conversation kind of like in this environment. Cause I feel like, you have that energy that a lot of us maybe strive towards, like the boldness and just being brave. I mean, I find there's a lot of mechanisms and just, I'm not to demonize society, but there's a lot of things that keep us small just because of the way they work. Yeah. And they keep us thinking small. Yeah. And I realize that for me, success is defined by the size of your thinking. Yeah. If I think that I can't do something, I won't be able to do it. But if I think that I can, then I will one day. And I've just been building that to prove to myself that it is defined by the size of the thinking. So I like how you are bold and you just do what you want.
Yeah, I like great. That. I like to live like that. Like I just do what I want. That's my whole thing. I feel like even with like creative endeavors, sometimes like you know how it is. Sometimes we're held back because of things like budget and stuff. You might have the idea, you might have the team, you might have everything in place, but things cost money. Things take time. But like a lot of the time I just sit and I'm like, I just want to fucking do it anyway. So how do we make it happen with what we have? And it's like served me well.
But then there's the constraints of like yourself stopping you, right? Yeah. Do you ever feel those constraints? You
know what? Imposter syndrome is what we'll call her. She's kind of new to me. But I think it happens and it's a healthy part of growth to kind of like, for me, like my biggest critic is myself. I got a lot of haters out there, but like still nobody is as hard on me as I am on myself. But it's not in a way of like self-sabotaging or being harmful to myself. It's very much like pushing myself to be like, don't let others silence you. Don't let others stop you. Don't let any like hurdles just stop you dead ass in your tracks. Like sit with it. Sit with like the shit that turns your whole idea upside down, or like sit with the roadblocks, but then move the fuck on eventually. Like that's always in the back of my mind. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It helps to have a purpose or like a direction, as I said, but what would you say is your biggest dream, your biggest purpose, and your why in this life?
I would say ultimately like everything that I do comes from a place of like what my younger self would have wanted for my younger self and also for my future self.
That's cool.
I think we talk a lot about like inner child stuff and what younger me would have wanted, but like I also we all have different upbringings, but I had an upbringing that required me to kind of have like developmental trauma, which meant like I didn't get to do the same things necessarily as most of my peers at the time. So when everyone was trying to go to school, I had to focus on like, how am I going to support paying rent?
Right.
How am I going to support like keeping up our life and things like that? So then I did school a bit later, but what was the question that you had asked again?
Like, what is your biggest dream?
Right. So my biggest dream is to like
purpose?
continue to, I'm like done playing catch up basically now.
Nice.
And my biggest dream is to continue cultivating this life of like ease and flow where I like prioritize play. Nice. Ultimately, that's what I want to do. I want to prioritize play in my work. I want to prioritize play in motherhood. I want to prioritize play in my relationship and my friendships and my relationships as a whole. Mm-hmm. And like, that's the theme at the end of the day. Like, that's like the amazing level. Yeah. That's like the consistent theme is like, I want to play in this lifetime. I've done a lot of like catching up. I've done a lot of like healing work and like, that's forever too. But I just want to enjoy this shit. So that's what I'm doing.
That's an amazing purpose. Because playing is fun.
Right.
Because you just either whatever play means to you.
Exactly.
Because there's no objective with play, but it's fun when you can incorporate play into your work.
Exactly.
And what you do.
It's the baseline, right? Like there's going to be shit that comes up and things like that always. But like, I always come back to that. Like, I just want to have, what are we doing today to play? What are we doing to have fun?
That's true. And you can kind of embody that in your, even just in conversation, like you can still hold professionalism
totally
and, meet the requirements to accomplish, pretty big goals and everyone's respected and taken care of, but then you can still be playful in it.
Right. It's true. And then even that, like, I feel like with Pearly Media, we kind of like push the boundaries of professionalism a little bit because, the whole point of me working for myself is so that I don't have to code switch, right?
Yeah.
So there's always like funny memes about
how. What do you mean
like
code switch?
Code switch, basically, like, a lot of like BIPOC folks, we spend our lives like being ourselves, but then going to the workplace and showing up like this, and like having to send an email, but like thinking about it for 10 minutes before we send it because we're trying not to sound like ourselves with our lingo and our slang and like our accents and things like that. Like, I think I grew up in Canada, but I had like an accent till I was like 8 or 9, and it was like forced out of me. And it was only until like I was a teenager that I was like, oh my, and I went back to Malaysia and I'm like talking like my people again. And I'm like, oh my God, I actually like spent 16 years of my life like speaking.
Still there.
Yeah, a different way. But like my mother tongue ultimately is still there. So like, working for myself and like Pearly Media pushing the boundaries of professionalism and just like inviting myself and others who work with me to like be ourselves. I think that's like a game changer for me too.
It's terrifying.
It is.
I feel that too, because I'm like, the creatives is one thing where there's no bounds, but it's like, okay, but how do I not that I want to break free, but it's I want to be able to express fully who I am into the world, and then be able to interview people with that energy. How do
you dance with that? Because you're like inviting people into a space where like they're creatives, but you like the way you invited me, it was like very much to be myself, which is great. But how do you do that? Like you're sending these professional invites and like you're maintaining your system, but you're like, come as you, it's all good. I
mean, so I have a roadmap. I have a on the technical side, there is a strategy behind why we podcast and how we do it and how we distribute. And there's a number of, I guess, professional benefits to podcasting. Right. That's one component of it.
Right.
The other component, I'm curious. My whole life I've been very curious. I was always the kid to touch literally everything in every car. And my parents were like, stop touching everything. Why are you doing that? I'd get in a car, I'd want to know every single button because I just want to know how it works. Or I'd take things apart, put them back together. Yeah. So that curiosity is a huge driving factor because like truly I'm curious.
Yeah.
And I don't want anything from anyone else except for good times, good experiences, good convos. Maybe I can learn something from you. Yeah. Maybe I can learn something about myself. So that curiosity drives a lot of why I do this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun. It's really fun to lock into a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
Ear or headphones on, microphone on, nothing else in the world, no distractions, because that's rare. I find
it's true.
It's very rare to get someone's undivided attention. It even comes down to like when you sit with someone and the phone is up on the table.
Oh my God.
That does send a signal. It does send a message that I'm here, but I'm also occupied.
Yeah.
So that's why I love it. That's kind of what drives me through.
I love that. That's so funny. The phone on the table thing, actually, like complete side note, but that's like kind of a pet peeve of mine. Now my friends watching are going to be like, shit, we be having our phones out. No, but I tell my friends, like, if it's my table, I'm like, no phones at the table. And like, not to be rude, but I'm like, no phones at the table. We're going to talk and look each other in the eye. And my daughter says the same thing too now. Like, we had dinner and like one of my girlfriends was there and my daughter's like, no phones at the table. Sorry, we talk to each other. And I'm like, period.
That's great.
But like, it's true. Even now, like, my phone is on the floor, but it's like face down.
Right.
So like the intention you said, right, of like being present and stuff. Yeah, you control that in a podcast space.
It's
totally
fun. And it is kind of like, it's my world. We get to have a conversation in this world.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And then we also, there's the added benefit of being able to share the conversation with people who are interested. And, you know, like you said, you may post something, 500 likes, one person messages you and they're like, this touched me.
Yeah.
Similar thing where I forget that I put this out in the world and one person will be like, I listened to that episode and it resonated with me or it helped me through a hard time in my life. And, you know, thank you. And then I'm like, you're welcome. I'm like, wow, I forgot. I didn't realize, because it's part of a strategy and I push myself to a very high output. So I often forget about the small, I guess, things that I do.
Those things are worth celebrating. So
For sure.
Yay. Small wins.
Small wins. One thing is we forget, and I think I've forgotten because we grew up in digital media, is social interactions and conversations are supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be awkward.
Right.
And I find with a phone always there, it's like, as soon as, like, let's say you and I are sitting in a coffee shop having a conversation and then there's nothing else to say.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you do? Grab your phone and distract yourself rather than sit in the moment of like, this is awkward as fuck. Yeah. Like, I feel weird.
You know what? Like, I'm not judging anyone, but I actually hate that so much. And it's funny because my partner always says, one of the first times we hung out when we met, he's like, he always felt like he had to talk and fill the space is what he calls it, like filling the space. And he's like, there were so many times where you would just be quiet. And he's like, I felt awkward because I was like, oh my God, am I boring her? And then I straight up said to him one day, I'm like, you don't have to talk all the time. You know, like, it's okay. We can sit together in silence. And he was like, whoa. He's like, I had never been with anybody that was like, it's fine. And he's like, then I realized I was like performing all the time to like fill the space. And like, it's okay. Like, I feel like as humans now, we live in a society where like perfectionism is a thing. You have to be perfect in interactions. You have to be perfect in the way that you talk. You have to be perfect in the way that you say things and know about everything that's going on. And it's like causing people so much social anxiety. Whereas like, we're not perfect. Not that,
nor will we ever be.
No, like, you know, it's so much overthinking with like posting a picture as to like how we look. Like, just look like yourself. It's okay. And I try to also bring that out with my art. I think sometimes people are like, oh my God, these photos look so good, or you look so good. But like, I have a photo where like I'm leaning over a chair and my belly is out. And it's like, we have bellies. We eat food, right? Like, I ate before my shoot. So even when I like invite my clients onto set, the email is always like, eat something before. Because when I was younger and I was like playing in the realm of like modeling, which I hated at the time, a lot of the times they would tell you like, don't eat before.
Really?
Oh my God.
Like the director of the shoot would say, don't eat.
Yeah. Or like if it was like a runway thing, they'd be like, don't eat before. We'll have like some snacks on set, but you can eat like after you do your first walk and and it's like vegetables, like raw vegetables. And now it is different. Now we see models of like all shapes and sizes and colors, which is amazing. But like, it's just like part of that conversation of like everybody trying to perform in a perfect way. Whereas like, no, like, the rawness is where we see the emotions. The rawness is where we like see the beauty in things. And that's what I like to capture in people. I also tell my clients, like, I'm not going to over edit your photos. Like, unless there's something you want gone, but like, I'm going to leave the stretch marks. I'm going to leave the beautiful stripes and the marks and things like that.
Tells a story.
Yeah, it tells a story. Like, I love sitting with somebody and like just seeing their rawness. And like, I think like, you know, in relationships, there's courting. I feel like even in just human interaction, there's like this dance, this courting of like getting to know each other. And I love that allure of like feeling interested in someone, not just like romantically, but like as a human.
Right.
Like they have these Instagram pages like Humans of New York and stuff. I will be on my phone for like, that's what I'll spend hours looking at. Like, I'll just find a photo and like just read the story. And it's something so like intriguing, but it's normal people. Like, it's you, it's me, it's people we walk by. And we miss out on learning about each other when we're so focused on like the perfection of things, you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
And that imperfection, there's beauty in the imperfection.
Yeah.
It's why I love cars and I love people because cars are imperfect
Yeah.
and they cause you a whole range of emotions
Yeah.
when you start, peeling the onion and getting into modifying and racing them.
Yeah.
But I love that about them. And then as well, same with conversations. It's fun. You get to see the way someone, like I guess the nuances of their expression and their body language. And it's like,
It's true.
it's awesome.
It's true.
That's why I struggle communicating online
Yeah.
because of that, because I can't read a person. I have a tendency to assume tone in
Yeah.
messages.
And
which is
like, that's
not good.
okay though. Like, what are we supposed to do?
I know.
And like, that's so going back to like professionalism, right? That's why like in my emails, I'll send like a little heart and be like, have a nice day.
To a client.
I'm not mad. Or like,
Heart.
it's all good. But it's okay. It's okay to fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to like not understand. Like, it's okay to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
I do that a lot. Like I ask a million questions because I'm like, I just don't want to assume.
It's better to ask than to pretend like you know.
Yeah. I feel like like with my online presence, like sometimes people assume things.
Mm-hmm.
So with me asking questions, it's like me inviting people to let their guard down with me as well. Cause I'm like, I'm just like you. I don't know anything. I don't know the things. I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of, I guess you call it provocative art.
Yeah.
Where it's modeling, and I really love how you invite women into a space and you empower them and you tell them like eat, like this is a healthy experience.
Yeah.
But I think like a big component of it is vulnerability.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, how can vulnerability actually empower you? Because it may be seen as something that will shrink you down and make you smaller. But and I've experienced vulnerability and it actually does the opposite. But how does it? What was your experience with that?
Being vulnerable gives you almost like this hangover, right? Like where you like say something or do something that like, you do in your true essence where like your guard is dropped and then you walk away from it like, oh my God, you might lose sleep that night. Like, and I'm speaking from experience, like till this day, it happens to me. I'm like, it's 1 a.m. and I'm like, oh my God, I said this at 12:35 p.m. We all do it.
Yeah.
But in a way, there's nothing more confidence boosting than being vulnerable, because being vulnerable ultimately is your homecoming. It's like you being true to yourself. I relate homecoming to like you coming home to yourself. Mm-hmm. So when you can tell a truth, there's nothing more empowering. Even if you feel uncomfortable after, like sit with it, because the next time you do it, you're almost going to know and be like, okay, I might feel a little ways after, but maybe you have like a little form of aftercare for yourself now. It's all about like practicing and doing it, but then changing your process so you can like hold yourself in this space. Mm-hmm. Because ultimately, like when you're vulnerable to that level, like you are literally looking in the mirror naked, figuratively and literally sometimes. Mm-hmm. But that's how like I love inviting people into that space. And when my clients book with me, they actually fill out a form. Mm-hmm. And sign a contract. But the form is more, it's not generic. It's like me getting to know them. It's like asking very specific things. Not just like, what's your age, what's your sign? But it's like, what do you like about yourself? And what do you also like about yourself physically? And it's almost like they're pouring out what turns out to be like a love letter to themselves. And most of them have said like filling this form out actually made me kind of like look at parts of myself that I wasn't expecting to. And then we start building the session together. Then we build based on like their interests. I ask about their vibe. I ask about what kind of music they like. I ask about like, what are your favorite body parts on you? Mm-hmm. What are your favorite like, quirks about yourself? What's something interesting about you? What are you doing this for? And you would think a lot of the times people say it's for a partner, but most of the time they say like, I think I'm actually doing this for me. But I think that's after they reflect with like this form and what they're stepping into. So I think being vulnerable is lit. Mm-hmm. You like get to know yourself.
And no one can almost shoot. Once you're vulnerable, no one has any ammo.
Oh my God,
right? They can't make assumptions and cast judgment because you're like, this is me. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Yeah. They can, they will, but you hold the power.
Right. Because you put the truth out.
Exactly.
But sitting with it, I like what you said about sitting with it. That's one thing I'm still trying to learn, and how to sit with a feeling, sit with an emotion, because it's hard. It's uncomfortable, hard.
Yeah.
But I love that's real signs of a real director. Like you're asking people questions that like they would have never otherwise considered.
Yeah.
And like your process starts before they even see a camera.
Yeah, literally.
And it's like changing them, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
We almost become like family. Like all of my clients, it's interesting because my clients now, every time I have a round of bookings, I always have a new client, which I love, but I always have return clients. So we become like a family, and it just becomes safe space. And sometimes even if they don't necessarily need new photos, it's more about like the energy we're creating together and like what we're sharing in the moment. And again, it's like vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the people that don't necessarily know what we're talking about, so these are your garage sessions that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the garage sessions?
So my garage sessions are basically my play on what most people would call a boudoir shoot.
Okay.
But instead of focusing on just like, should we wait for the plane to go by?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Instead of just focusing on the elements of like it being sensual, it's also an opportunity to like play and push the boundaries of what a boudoir shoot is. So with some of my clients, we do full nudes, full nude photography. A lot of them are not just like, you know, the beautiful boudoir style like poses. They're like reenacting positions that we may like in the sexual realm, or like playing with toys, and not like engaging in sexual activity, but like, you know, bringing a whip or a gag. So we're like pushing the boundaries, but we're creating a space to like more so explore kinks,
Right.
rather than just and like embrace the kinks, because that's such a shamed realm still. And even that, like, it's hard because I have a business that's based on like empowering our love for that, but I don't necessarily have platforms where I can like safely promote that.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Yeah.
But it's amazing that you give people a space to do this.
Yeah. So we call it the garage sessions because it started in my garage.
Is it still in your garage?
A lot of the times, yes. I do sometimes do it like in other studios, or like I'll book a quirky Airbnb.
Cool.
Yeah, that's like super fun. But I do it in my garage also because like it's become this like almost known local sacred space where a lot of folks would like DM me or message me and be like, I want to come kick it in the garage. I want to come hang out with you in the garage. And although I can't say yes to everybody because I have to like maintain the sacredness of the space, I love opening it up for photo sessions because like people come in, they smell the incense, they know, like they feel the energy in there almost. And we can like play so freely because of the comfort level. So it started with me and my girlfriends kind of like, we would get together in the garage and like help each other take nudes or like, you know, provocative photos. And then it turned into them inviting me to their sessions, like their actual photo sessions, and being like, you got to direct me. Like, I would only feel comfortable if you told me what to do.
Cool.
And then meeting new photographers and stuff. And then they would be like, you should work on set with me. And then, you know, one day one of my homies was like, you should do it yourself. Like, you should do this. And so I never stopped.
And the garage sessions were born.
Yeah.
It's cool. It seems like it's more of an exploration of oneself, and the photos are just a product. They just come as a result. Sorry. One of my friends, he's a pro racing driver, and I'm like, are you pumped? You want to win? He's like, winning's just a result.
Yeah.
It's a result of my performance, or it's a result of the race.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not focused on the result. I'm focused on like the process before.
Totally.
And this is an interesting way of like, because I feel like the photos, it's a memory, it's a keepsake, and they can look back. But I feel like that journey of, you know, unpacking or just like opening yourself up is very empowering. You probably change a lot of people's lives through those sessions.
And honestly, they changed mine too because of the energy exchange. And like it gives me a confidence boost too when like people trust in me and believe in me. And like when we build that connection and that rapport, like for a woman or somebody who's like non-binary or like femme identifying, for them to look at you and tell you like, thank you for creating this safe space, there is nothing more rewarding. So going back to like defining success with my garage sessions, it's the fact that people come and feel comfortable. And even when people have been like, I'm nervous, I've never done this before, I swear to you, 5 minutes in, they're like, boom, bam, and they're like, oh, we're done already. And I'm like, I know, you killed it.
That's awesome.
Like everybody who feels nervous, once we start, there's no nerves. Like we don't know her. We don't know Miss Nervousness. We don't know imposter syndrome. And it's honestly like, I will big myself up. It's a testament to the space that we co-create.
It's very important because you create that safe space where, you know, they're protected from the things that they may be like that may be holding them back from doing it in the first place. Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's been fun. Cool.
Maybe I'll come for a garage session.
Yeah, you should. Actually, a lot of like men have been asking, and I want to start offering that this year. It would be in a different capacity, and I would have an assistant on set always. Not because like, oh, I don't trust men, but I think it's a safety thing for both of us.
For sure, yeah.
And just a comfort thing for both of us. So I want to start offering that actually. And some mans have asked, so yeah.
It's coming soon.
Yeah.
Follow Pearly. All her info is down in the description. Pearly, what does creativity mean to you?
I'm going to give you my...
Big question.
Yeah, big question. I'm going to give you my creativity spiel because...
Sweet. You're ready for this?
I'm ready. I'm ready because we like get asked and I want to answer truthfully. For me, to be creative is to exist. And to exist is to be creative. And I know everyone will take that in different ways, but the way I view myself, the way I exist, the way I like would look at you and anybody else, from the second you wake up and start your day, like whatever you are doing is creative. Again, subjective, but there is opportunity to create at all times. Like ultimately we are all creators, and that's it.
That's amazing.
That's it. You exist, you create.
I love that you said there's opportunity to create at all times, because it could be as simple as just creating like a moment of space, taking 5 deep breaths or something.
That's exactly it. Like I'll give an example of a moment where I feel like an ultimate creator, but it's a simple moment that I have every day when I'm making my chai tea. I know that means TT, everybody, but that's
is that a morning thing?
Yeah, that's my like morning, my like hot cup. But to prepare it, like I grate the ginger, I put the water in, I put the loose leaf tea, and there's like a measurement component to it, but I take my time with it intentionally. I blend my spices, my cardamom, I don't know what the rest are called in English, my saunf, my haldi, turmeric, all these different things. And it's a process, and I pour it in. And like my daughter said to me one day, she's like, "Mommy, you're like a witch, you're like creating something." And I'm like, aren't I always creating? Like we are always creating. So like she kind of taught me that, and she would like watch me make it. And like, you don't realize the little things that you do throughout your day are literally forms of creation. So that's my example of like something that I do that maybe I wouldn't have clocked in like 10 years ago, that like this is part of my process. And what do I do? Oftentimes when the cup of tea is done, I'll either like have a moment to start my day alone, or like I'm sitting with it, checking my emails and stuff. And it's part of my flow of like getting to the work, you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
That daily ritual I've found has been very important.
Yeah.
Where you kind of like, you own moments in your day, especially as like an entrepreneur, director, we're in any sort of realm where you're self-guided, and you can be pulled in 40 different directions at the same time.
So true.
I've found incorporating elements where like I own this part of my day helps me to just like balance that and not feel like, okay, someone saying something or can throw me off as easily anymore. For me, it's just walking every morning.
I love that.
Getting up and going outside. Cold, like I started doing it this year, like beginning of 2024. Every single day, wake up, hydrate, amazing. Go outside. No phone, just go outside. Well, if I can have a 5 or 25 minute walk, depends on the day. As long as I go outside and then I come back, I'm like, okay, now I'm ready.
You like intentionally take that moment to like, and I think those are some of the things that are worth celebrating too. Like oftentimes we lose our mind because we have this checklist for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, our yearly goals. But like you got up today, you had your glass of water and you went for that walk. That's something to check off your daily list. You know, and it felt good for you, which is even better. It's not something you're like forcing yourself to do.
At first it did take a bit of, not force, but like push to. You
gotta haul ass a little bit,
especially in the middle of winter when it's cold. You layer up, go outside. But it's
we push ourselves. We have to push ourselves sometimes. We have to push our own boundaries a little bit in like healthy, safe ways. But we're like humans, so we're like habitual by nature, and we get comfortable. We always get so comfortable, and that's good too. Like we have our vices, we have our comforts, but like to push ourselves is like ultimately a gift.
Do you enjoy pushing yourself?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I'm like, I'm a very passionate and intense person. I don't know if that translates. I don't know if people get that. I'm a super Libra, so I'm always like chill and cool and everything's all good. But like when I'm on my own, I'm like, I gotta get all day done.
That's awesome. I like finding those limits. It's uncomfortable a lot of the time.
I have to stop myself. Like actually at night, like I take an edible to like, I say it's my tranquilizer, but like I really like take it so I can like, some people do partake and like, you know, they're more explorative and like it's a dance for me, but that also allows me to be more present so I can be like, shh, girl.
Just quiet now.
Yeah, quiet now, quiet tonight. But yeah, all part of the process.
It is.
Yeah.
The process that's never going to end. Like the evolution of it will never end.
Yeah, it's true.
Just when you think you've hit a point, there's like more. But
it's so true.
But then stopping, like I don't want that. I don't want to be constantly feeling like I'm like pursuing something.
Yeah.
So reminding myself to like, okay, stop, enjoy. Like you said, sit with those feelings and those moments, whether they're good or bad, helps to kind of like not feel like life's so chaotic or
it's true.
There's so much going on all the time. Like I don't like sporadic energy. I don't like energy that makes me feel like, you know, I guess, like I said, so people affect me a lot. So if there's been people I've worked with, which I don't no longer work with, simply for the fact that when I'm in their presence, their energy rubs off on me.
Yeah.
And I can't be around people who are like all over the place.
Oh my gosh, it's too much. Because I can't focus. I also can't focus on what they're saying because like it just, I'm like, what? Too much is going on. So I get it. I wish like more of us could like slow down and be present. It's unfortunate because we're like sold a different idea and image of life, and like hustle culture is a big thing. But like I'm telling you, like creatives, we cannot thrive in hustle culture. We just need to find like a good balance of like majority practicing our creative endeavors and then like a small business component, like enough to keep you afloat. And it's hard. Like a lot of my creative homies are just like, you got the business thing down pat. Like I can't figure it out. I'm like, it's hard. It's so hard.
It's just boring.
It is
it's
boring.
It's not that hard.
I don't want to check emails and stuff. My email, again, I add the little heart emojis and stuff so my emails are funner.
You can have fun with it.
Yeah. But yeah.
Pearly, what tell me about some of your projects. So we've talked about your garage sessions. But I understand you do a lot more than garage sessions.
I do a lot.
From what I gather, you're a film director, music video director, public speaker, community builder, maker of candles, which are hilarious. Check them out on Pearly's website.
Get my Worship Me candles.
Yeah, those are so funny for so many reasons. Tell me about some of these projects and kind of like ones that you're proud of, and a little bit about what went into them and like why they exist. Why'd you decide to put this stuff out in the world?
It's so funny because I still feel like I have a hard time like kind of like saying what it is that I do, but I'm just a very multifaceted creative person. And honestly, a lot of the different realms that I explore, like I've kind of been pushed in, not in a forceful way, but like people would be like, you're awesome at this, keep doing this, or can I hire you for this? So when I say my work is an intersect of art and activism, I truly mean that everything that I create, there's a story behind it, whether it's like a photo I've taken or a film I've directed or a music video I've directed. It's very, very intentional and thought out. Some of the things that I'm proud of that I've done is, so last year I think I hosted about and curated about 10 events in the city between Ottawa and Gatineau. So this year I'm doing less events, but still like doing community initiatives. I say that, and I've already hosted one. It was a community sip and swap, but I want to like continue focusing in on things that bring those intersects together. Another thing that I've been proud of is 2 of the films that I've made. One was called The Ritual. That was my first directorial debut. I filmed that with a team of local mamas who partake in cannabis. And it was a means of like reclaiming. And we were all like BIPOC from different walks of life, different cultures. And we all had very different stories of reclaiming this plant. And I wanted to put it out there because like as a mom who smokes, a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're so open about it. I'm like, this is my medicine. Why am I going to hide it? Like, you know, but I get it why people hide it. It comes with shame. It comes with stigma. Even then, like a lot of people too I've heard comments or people being like, oh, you know, be careful what you post online and that. And I'm like,
literally didn't ask. No, it's funny.
What? But so I was really proud of that because that was another space in which I invited everyone in and had like dialogues about it being a safe space and not forcing them to share anything specific, but they all shared something very deep and personal, which I appreciated. So
is this related to cannabis? Is that what that one
was?
Was?
So it was called The Ritual, and it was literally about moms in the Ottawa-Gatineau area who partake in cannabis, and it was about us reclaiming the plant. So everybody kind of shared a little bit about how it contributes positively to their life, how it supports them in motherhood, and maybe like a stigma they faced. So you can watch it on my Instagram or on YouTube. Go check it out. It was awesome. It like sparked a lot of conversations. Another film that I was really proud of was my film that was in partnership with CBC called A Taste of Home. Cool. And that was another like sort of art intersect with activism, because it talked about like my father and I being estranged due to his addiction. And when we did kind of get back together, he was given a terminal cancer diagnosis. So I was just like, okay, what the fuck? But I have a unique relationship with death as well that a lot of people don't know. I've experienced a lot of close people in my life pass away since I was young, and some in like really fucked up ways, to be honest. And so I can talk about death. I can laugh about it, not making fun of, but like, you know, we were able to make a film and I could openly talk about like, well, you know, my dad is dying. This is the time we have left. This is what we're trying to do together. And it's hard for like immigrant parents to do stuff like that. But again, I invited my dad in. We had conversations before, leading up to and during, of like what it would look like. And I even told him, I'm like, we're talking about your addiction, but I'm not shaming you in any way. I want you to know this is not me being like, fuck my dad, he wasn't around. It was like, I love you, Dad, and I respect you, and I'm thankful for the things that I did learn from you, even if we didn't have much of a relationship. So that's what I want to celebrate. And that allowed him to let his guard down. So there's a theme here in certain things I create about like the safety element of like you being yourself and telling your story. And like, you know how it is in media too. Sometimes people are concerned with like the propaganda component of like how it's manipulated and changed to like give out a message or story.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, like we're going to do this. And then I've done like other fun things too. Like I directed a video for my homie City Fidelia. He released a song last year. I think it was Valentine's Day, called Therapeutic. And so he hit me up. He's like, you got to do the visual. And so my inspo for it was The Sopranos, like when Tony would be like in the therapy room with his therapist and he would like have fantasies about her. So that was fun because it's like kind of bringing together like a story. And like,
was that the one where you're like, I think I saw this on you, where you're sitting on the couch and then another girl comes in?
No, that was another film that I just did recently, but that was like the inspo behind that was just like, I thought it up one day and I want to do more skits
where you're in the production, like you're acting.
Yeah, well, I wasn't, honestly, I'm like camera shy for that. So I was not planning to be on it, but I couldn't find somebody to do it. So I just did it.
It's great.
And it turned out great.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of different things I'm really proud of. It's
amazing.
Hard to narrow it down, but like the consistent thing is like the spaces. Like even last year with the events I did, a lot of them, every single event I do involves some sort of like live performance component because I love paying artists too, you know, and I love supporting. And people always just talk about the vibes, and like somebody commented specifically on how my events are like multi-generational. So like there's like us, but then there's like our kids, and then like our parents, like the elders pull up too. And that's like something interesting about me is like I'm down with the elders. Like I know my friends' parents, and like some of them I have my own relationships with, and
they hold the keys.
They do.
They have so many keys.
They do. So yeah, I'm proud of the spaces we like all co-create together.
I love how many different realms you've kind of like explored. Like the film, like modeling, photography, like speaking, events. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I like how you've woven that message, or like you've woven like empowerment into all of it.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of what I'm hearing is a lot of what you do empowers the people involved and the people who can experience it.
I hope so. I hope so.
Through different ways. It empowers through vulnerability, through difficult topics or difficult things. Like, you know, like death is one of the things it is the only thing that's certain in our life.
Yeah.
And it is scary, you know, because we can't even, I guess, think about what may happen when death it happens. So
it's true. It's like, it's just a real thing. And like that, I guess that's part of like my ability and like my power to just want to like do all the things and have fun is like, we're not guaranteed time. Like you really have no idea. So I just want to play and like have fun while I'm here. There's this like, what's his face? There's this quote. I forget who said it, but he's like, I don't know how much time I got left on this earth, but I'm gonna get real weird with it.
I love that. Could always just end the podcast on that. I don't want to though, because I have a couple more things I want to talk to you about. So wait, City Fidelia is your friend?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I'm helping my friend Ani shoot a music video for him on Wednesday.
Oh my God. Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm actually, Ani, she's awesome.
Yeah.
I just did cover art for one of his singles with her. That's coming out soon. So it may be the same
Ani's
video.
a homie. I've known her for like 4 years now. She's helped me out so much. She's helped me connect with so many like key people in the film industry.
Ani's amazing. Like even just being on set with her for a few moments and like the information level of like how to utilize all the equipments. I'm like, whoa, like just a brilliant human.
It's awesome. So I guess I'll meet City Fidelia on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do some epic drone shots, I think, for some of the
dope.
videos. I don't know anything else. Maybe it's a secret, so I won't spill any more. Awesome. But I love how that's all kind of intertwined.
The Ottawa creative community is really interesting because it is like a large city. It's a big city, but it's like a small community, and there's so many like intersects and like so many people that know each other.
Some people hate that about Ottawa.
Yeah.
I love it.
Personally. I love it. It is overwhelming and it's a lot, but I think it's awesome. Like I feel sad because sometimes people say it can be cliquey, but like I feel like that could be everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know, like just go places alone. Like that's something that I would do. I would like go to events and things alone. Like I don't care.
And talk to random strangers.
Yeah, but then it's Ottawa, so you go and there's like 17 people you know. It doesn't matter.
They're never strangers in Ottawa.
Yeah, like you walk in and someone's like, Pearly, have a seat for you. I'm like, perfect.
Like, what? I didn't know anyone was going to be here.
Yeah.
That's funny. I want to talk to you a little bit about the fact that like you are a mother.
Yeah.
And you seem to have embodied individuality beyond the role of like parent.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what I saw in my life, I'm not a parent. I'd love to be one day, but I saw like my parents and like my aunts and uncles once the kids grew up and were adults and they no longer had the role of parent.
Yeah.
Their identities were not threatened but challenged.
Right.
And it was almost like they had to rediscover themselves.
Right.
It's like, who am I beyond a parent?
Find interests, find friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is maybe a note to the parents out there that may be listening. Like, what's it like kind of finding individuality and identity, like while still being a parent?
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like when I entered motherhood is when I really was like, I wanted to move away from labels, right? Like on paper, I could identify as like a woman of color, as queer, as somebody with an invisible disability, a mother, so many things to like check off the list. But instead and like those are part of me. I'm not like throwing them aside or like shading them or hating on them. But like a big part of stepping into motherhood was realizing that I am this like very creative being and very intuitive. And these are gifts that I can continue exploring in the creative realm. And I think the biggest thing I wanted to kind of like associate myself with and identify with as a mother is like showing my kid that like, please don't just thrive for a 9-to-5, like actually aspire to be yourself ultimately. And my kid now, she's 7, like she will tell you, like if you ask her, what do you want to be when you grow up? She will literally tell you, I don't need to wait till I grow up. I'm already an artist and a singer and I design dresses. And like, she will say it so confidently. And I'm like, I don't laugh about it. I don't giggle.
Like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah. And like, it's the confidence, like, and this is not like, you know, to hate on the previous generation of parents, boomers don't come for me. But like we have this like unique gift right now where we want our children to be empowered and confident. So like by me existing in that and like just showing her by example how to be that way, I see my kid so confident and so like down to try all the things and feel safe to do that. And that's like how I'm leading in motherhood with my creativity, just like showing up. And also like early days, we didn't really have like family or babysitters and support and stuff like that. So like my kid would come to a lot of things with us, like ciphers and like a cookout and stuff. And so she's like down, like she knows everybody. She like,
that's so cool.
Yeah, she like knows things. Like we hosted a community event on Sunday, and she was there the whole time. She like knew everyone, and she was like helping show the kids where all the free toys were and stuff. So motherhood was like a really like important defining moment for me, because I was like, what do I want to show my kid? Like, what do I want to show my kid about the world she grows up in? And, you know, 9-to-5s are great because they pay the bills, and like that's the system that we're all like pushed into. But I want to just show her that like truly what it means to like live and know that your life is limitless. Like there's no ceiling for you, kid. Like do all the things. And she asks me questions now, and I tell her like, you know, just because I'm, you know, a mother, and just because I'm this age or like this, that, or whatever, doesn't mean that I don't have to do things. Like I'm not, you don't become a mother and just roll over and die. That's what society expects of you.
That's where the job starts.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you can remember, but like the 50s and 60s, for example, that's not that long ago, but like the propaganda of motherhood was literally like all of the ads were this lady in heels in a kitchen when the man comes home and she's like, I made your favorite 7-course meal today. Like that's still what is low-key expected. And like, you know, even the fact that like people are still like, women can work and women, it's like, let's just literally like move away from like the expectations of women and motherhood, and like just show up authentically.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure she teaches you a lot.
She does.
In return. Does she, I find kids often ask questions that make me like, whoa, like I've never even thought in that way before.
Yeah.
Like, thanks. I love when kids just fire questions.
They have no filter.
Because I love answering questions, because I'm always the one asking them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll sit here for 4 hours and answer your questions. I have no issue.
They have no filter. Like, yeah, they ask the best questions. My kid is super curious in the mind, and like she makes me think always. I think too, like in motherhood, if you allow yourself to like be a bit more vulnerable and drop your guard and ask yourself either the same questions or like actually ponder on it. Like I will tell my kid, like, let me come back to that because I'm not sure. And she'll be like, okay. And then I'm doing research, and I'll tell her like, yo, you really put me onto something today. Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess what I gather is like continuing to be yourself and you know, explore your individuality and all of your creative expressions it seems like it's enough to inspire your daughter to do that.
Totally.
Aside from like the regular, like, you know, day-to-day things that you just have to do as a mother.
And if anything, I feel like my motherhood, like everything I do in motherhood and creativity, like is inspired by my kid.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Like I was always exploring creative things, but I really started pushing it and like taking it to another level when I became a mom, which is interesting, right? Like there's this notion of like you have less time and like your kid is your whole life, and absolutely they are, but you're your whole life too, and like you can never stop redefining yourself or like finding yourself. I called becoming a mother my homecoming too, because I was like, whoa, I can do all the things.
Until the next, I don't even know what the next step, but I'm sure you're going to continue to having those homecoming.
Watch me like in grandmotherhood, like doing some new shit.
You'd be a cool grandma.
Yeah,
you're already a cool mom, so I can imagine.
I hope so. I hope I'm like that hippie grandma.
Yeah, it's hard to even conceptualize what the world will be like.
Oh my gosh.
At that point, just because of how fast things change. But
I know.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
It will be good.
You seem to be someone who also embodies a lot of like family and cultural ties in what you do, and I love that.
Yeah.
And I just want to get a bit of a better understanding about how you do it, why you do it, why it's so important to kind of embrace those cultural roots in what you do.
I feel like I'm so defined by the cultures that make up like who I am, my like Malaysian heritage, my Punjabi heritage, and my child is like super mixed. Like she's Punjabi, Malaysian, Haitian, Canadian.
Wow.
So she has all the things, and like it just growing up in marginalized communities and very diverse communities, it's like the culture of love and sustainability. I know they're like two very different things, but also ultimately they go hand in hand, because to be sustainable is to like love your planet and love your people. Those are the things that inspire me the most, like just the natural way of living, the way like we have these consistencies of like getting together over food, the way we are like very resourceful creators. Everything about my cultures influences everything that I do. And I'm also very interested. So like I do a lot of research if there's things I don't know. Like my Punjabi heritage, particularly, a lot of our like history is erased because of like the genocide in 1984 in Punjab, and like just things along the way, and like my family moving and relocating to Malaysia. We have a unique story. I know every family does, but we have a unique story. And when I was younger, there was a bit of like feeling of separated and left out of some things in like the Indian community, because we're like, you know, mixed and more like diverse, and our food is different because we were like more Asian influenced and stuff, like Eastern influence. But they just like, I exist in it. Like I exist in these realms, and like I love speaking my language with my kid. I love like still incorporating the food elements. Like I only cook like ethnic food. And I think people don't realize I'm like a very traditional person when it comes to the cultural things. I still celebrate like all cultural events and things like that. So
you ever visit your home countries?
Yeah, I haven't been to India yet.
Okay.
It's on my bucket list of like, I don't really have a bucket list, but like it's there, and I want to really like dive deep into like a long trip when I finally go.
I feel that.
Yeah, but I've been to Malaysia many times, and like for me, like that's back home. That's what we consider back home.
Where in Malaysia?
Kind of all over. So like mostly Kuala Lumpur. We have family in Johor Bahru as well, which is like it borders Singapore, and I also have family in Singapore.
That's cool.
But then when we go to that side of the world, I have family in Australia, New Zealand. Like my cousin / niece is a psychedelic DJ out in New Zealand.
Psychedelic DJ.
DJ Akasha, she's dope.
That is dope.
Yeah.
Shout out DJ Akasha.
Yeah. She's always like, come to my events, like one day. But you know, like it's just, I would love to, being in the creative space that I'm in now, go back home, because I think now it's been over 10 years.
That's how I feel with Lebanon as well.
Yeah.
I want to go back because it's been since 2016.
Oh my God.
I've changed, and I'm an adult, and I have tools to actually document and tell stories that I want to tell.
Oh my God. That would be so beautiful. See, that's interesting, right? Like there's all these things that we do here, and like we have our life here and our pace in which we work with, but like that's something that I think about too. Like I'm like, oh my God, if I went to Malaysia, like I would want to go to the jungle and like go to Borneo and like check out all these like sacred spaces, and also just like go to like the market, like the food market that like I spend so much of my time in, and like show people. There's like a lot of tourists, you know, perspectives, but like show people the real, like, you know, how you can go and
not
like,
just Bali.
Exactly. Not just Bali, not the swing that you have to wait 2 hours in line for. There's so much more for that. And that's the thing too. Like I'm particular with who I travel with for that reason. I'm like, I can't do the touristy shit. I need to like go to the village and like sit with the people.
I love adventures.
Yeah, I love adventures. I love the real. Like we talked about the rawness and everything. Like what village are you from in Lebanon, by the way?
Like Beirut is the hub, but I think from my dad's from like the valleys, and my mother is from someone at the door. Who is that?
Nice.
And my mother is from kind of like Palestine area, like her family's from there.
Okay.
And then they kind of fled Palestine to Lebanon, so they both kind of grew up in Lebanon, in Beirut. Who the hell is at the door? Sorry, that's throwing me off. Oh, maybe they're dropping off mail.
But why do they keep trying to open the door? It's not Jen. If it was Jen, she would have a key.
No, and they would know. It's fine. Do you know about Lebanon? Like, are you familiar with areas?
I am like familiar a little bit. Well, growing up in Ottawa, like half of the city is Lebanese, right? So
Shawarma
like,
capital.
Yeah, legit. And but I know like a little bit geographically and history about like Beirut, and like how there's almost like a comparison with like LA with the mountains.
Huge.
And,
it looks the same. When I went to LA, I was like, am I in Lebanon? I was like a lot of what I pay attention to when I travel is the vegetation. I'm very interested in trees and plants.
Yeah, I love that.
Hello.
Have you been to Lebanon, by the way?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I grew up. So I was born in the UK, and I'm British, Canadian, Lebanese. And I when you said the thing about your accent and how you lost it, that was me. I had a British accent till I was like 8 years old.
Really?
Got bullied like crazy by my cousins here.
That's so funny.
And then they made fun of me, so I just like had to adapt
you
to
had
it.
Like force
maybe
your
it's
way
still
out of
there.
it. Maybe.
When I hear British people speak, I'm like,
You're
you are my people.
like,
Top
my
Boy.
people?
Love that
Oh
show.
my God,
Top Boy.
yeah.
I love it.
Okay, everybody who watched Top Boy started talking like that. That was different British though.
Peas, fam. Such a good show.
Yeah, great show.
But yeah, so I was just saying the vegetation I love looking at its bonus. So I went to Los Angeles and seeing like the dryness and the way things grow and the way the mountains meet the ocean in a very short distance.
Yeah.
I was like, this is literally what Beirut and Lebanon feels like.
That's incredible. Actually, like both LA and Lebanon are like places I want to visit for that reason. I heard like it's incredibly like beautiful lands. And I don't know, like I honestly know nothing about LA other than like the movies and like music videos. But hopefully I want to check it out one
My
day.
recommendation is to get a vehicle and stay in like just outside the city in like Topanga, like in the canyons.
Oh my God, I've heard that.
Get a little cottage Airbnb in the canyons. It would take you maybe, let's say, like 30 minutes to drive to the center of the city.
That's fine.
But then you also get to go up these crazy windy roads and there's hikes everywhere and there's just like peace. And like because to me, like that's what I enjoyed most about that part of the world was the mountains, the hiking, the ocean, just like how, you know, vast the mountain ranges were, and it makes you feel so small. And I was like, this is cool. The city's cool too, because you're like, I've seen this in a movie.
Yeah, that too,
part's
right?
cool. So maybe next time I go, I'll stay in the city just to experience that a little bit. But.
Well, that's another cool thing about like being creatives and like doing specific things that we do is I always think like I can go somewhere, I can like go out there and do a gig and then enjoy the rest of my time. Although like I love what I do, but like we're able to like travel and still explore our creative endeavors. And that's also part of that like notion of like you exist, you create, you know what I mean? Like you take your creativity with you. You don't just leave it at home. So I love that idea of like being able to go back home and like, I don't know, not necessarily even, sometimes you document things and you don't put it out anywhere, right? It's just for you. That's what I'm looking forward to. Jinx, yeah.
I do that too sometimes. Where I'm like, I just turn a camera on and talk.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I'll put it out, but I have videos that I've never put out.
Yeah.
And I've documented things and I just never put them out.
And sometimes it's just for you.
Then I watch them and I'm like, I don't want to put this out. Like, I'm still not.
Yeah.
Maybe one day when there's a Netflix documentary about me, then I'll have all this footage that I can just be like, here you go.
Yeah. Oh my God. That'd be so cool.
Documenting absolutely everything. I want to read you a quote.
Okay.
Let me know your thoughts.
Okay.
The angels fly because they take themselves lightly.
Don't take yourself seriously. Laugh at yourself.
I just thought it was interesting.
No, I like that. It is very interesting.
It was Alan Watts, if you know who that is.
No. I love the idea of that, especially in like such heavy times when we're like weighted down by everything in the world and just like our own shit. To float would be nice.
Yeah. To float.
Yeah.
There's ways of floating, I guess.
Yeah. Floating.
Floating, yeah.
That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal in life, to be able to flow through things and like feel light, feel ease, right?
I feel like the flow is cultivated.
Yeah.
You have to cultivate the flow.
Yeah.
The way, like, you know, what you do today, how it goes into tomorrow and the next day. And that's an important flow that I'm still discovering.
Yeah. We have to like step out of our programming, though. That takes unlearning. And some things we can't unlearn because like we live in a society that like in which we have to like partake in these systems, right? But flowing, even the word is so nice.
Yeah. The word flows.
Yeah.
Like as funny as that is, maybe that's why they named it that.
Yeah, right.
This is what my brain goes like, is it named Flow because it flows, or did it name after?
This could be a case study for the creatives.
I digress. Pearly, do you have a message to, you know, other women who want to explore creativity, but they have a vision, but they just might not know where to start, how to start? Like, what would your message be to those individuals?
If you, especially as a woman, if you want to start something and explore something, I know this is easier said than done, but like stop invalidating yourself and stop giving a fuck about what you think it'll look like to others in the end.
Nice.
Like make it happen on your own. Whether that means like stop waiting for the budget, stop waiting for the right team, like try to just do it for yourself. Sometimes when we like release the expectation of how it'll be received, you actually love it more because the only person you're seeking validation from is from yourself. So ultimately it's like stop looking for that validation elsewhere and give it to yourself. I think that's my consistent message. Like that's something that I've practiced too, is like I would always do things and not look for validation, and ultimately that's why a lot of people fuck with my work, because they know that like she's not really looking for anything. She's just like putting this out there, and like Pearly doesn't give a fuck if you like it or not. So there you go. I think that'll also help with like the imposter syndrome, is if you tell yourself like, this is my idea, this is what I want to explore and do, focus more on like the feeling of doing it rather than how it's going to be received in the end.
And that might mean just not even showing the world, right?
Exactly.
Just doing it and then learning from that, right?
Yeah. I don't know about you, but like a lot of conversations I have with folks who may like ask me about an idea or something, like they say like, and then I don't know where to put it. I'm like, don't do that yet. Don't get there yet. Do it how you want to do it, regardless of the platform you're going to put it on. And then let the deciding factor be what platform can handle my work.
Yeah.
You know? And that's a game changer for them because, again, it goes back to what we talked about in the beginning. Like, you're taking back that power instead of giving it to these beasts that, like, ultimately your work could just be drowned out and not as appreciated on. So, like, put that value on it yourself.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a very beautiful message and a great way to kind of, like, bring us to a close here. Pearly, what are you kind of working on? What can people expect from you in the coming months, weeks, years?
Well, definitely more garage sessions. So look out for that, and actually have some like very exciting, unique offerings coming up this year. I will say one of them. I'm always this person that's like, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing till I do it. We're going to be offering shibari sessions with the...
Not sure what that is.
Shibari is like a form of rope play in the kink realm. And we have a qualified, well-trained, safe practicing female shibari artist who's going to contribute. And we're going to be doing like sessions throughout a day, how I typically offer. And you book your slot. And then you're going to have 2 to 3 different knots to choose from. And what we're doing is we're going to like, you know, have the artist tie the knot, certain different restraints. And then we're going to beautify it. So I have fresh florals that I'm going to incorporate into the knots, and then we're going to capture the photos. And yeah, so that's something exciting. And we're also going to be hosting another community-led event, a back to school sip and swap. This one's going to incorporate some barbers, some music. It's going to be like a cookout vibe, and everything's for free.
What's the sip? Like, is it like just beverages and
refreshments?
Swapping
clothes. No, sorry.
Stuff.
Yeah, so
cool.
I should be more clear. So the community sip and swap is a place where like families can come and like gather clothing, gently used clothing, clean. It's like an integral space where we
really
like,
cool.
Yeah, we put everything up in a nice way, because a lot of us kids who like come from hoods or like, you know, marginalized areas, like when we were younger and our parents were on welfare, we would go to certain like factories or places where we would get like our free winter jacket and snowsuit, and our parents would be like, don't tell anybody you got it from here. And I'm like, man, everybody from our neighborhood has the same shit. So what do you mean? But
that's awesome.
We wanted to remove like the shame element. So we're making it's a nice vibe. Like,
and from a sustainability standpoint, that's amazing, because you're just like, you have piles of stuff you don't use anymore, but someone could make so much use out of it.
Exactly. And we've had great things. Like, we've had like a vacuum. We've had like, honestly, like there's so many items that it doesn't even all get taken at the end of the day, and people leave with like bags full. We do like groceries sometimes too.
Really cool.
So that's coming up, but there's going to be a lot more that I'm doing in the art realm in terms of like showing my work. And I won't say much about that, but look out for it.
Sweet.
And
on your website, Instagram, like
both. So I'm utilizing. Yeah, we're gonna link them. So I don't know if it's coming up somewhere at the bottom or like
it'll
whatever.
Be in the description of wherever you're listening or watching.
Yeah. So click my links and follow me. Always something exciting going on.
Love that.
So stay tuned.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I very much enjoyed chatting with you on this episode. It was fun.
This was super fun.
I've learned things about. Well, I've learned things about you. I've learned more things about myself, and it's been an enjoyable exploration in a beautiful new set.
Yeah.
Again, thank you, Ryan, for curating these sets for us and helping us make them look different. Let us know what you think of the set down below. If you like our lovely tree behind us,
it's vibes.
And mixture of colors of purple and orange.
Yeah, it's vibes. People, if you're watching, you should email them and be on TheCreatives. It's really nice in here.
And share it with someone you know. Share it with someone you love. If you enjoyed this episode, share it, because that's the best way for this community to grow, and for, you know, even what Pearly's saying, to potentially reach more people and empower more people.
Yeah.
And empower you. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, Pearly.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Thank you to Pano Media and Midnight Hour Studios for supporting and sponsoring and powering this podcast. It is available everywhere and anywhere that you get your podcasts. So you can stream it while you're driving, while you're working. You can listen to it in your car. You can listen to it in your office. You can watch it in 4K on a television. It actually looks really good in big screen. It's fun because then you can sit down and have a coffee with us or whatever.
That's good to know.
A chai.
Maybe I'll have a chai. Yeah.
Chai
Maybe I'll have
tea.
a watch party.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Right?
Yeah. Watch party. I'd like to have a watch party about like watches.
Oh,
That'd
shit. Listen, we're just coming up with more creative event ideas. Okay.
Watch party.
The Creatives presents literally a watch party.
So boring. People be like, this is so lame. I'm not coming to this stupid watch party. I don't care
I'd come.
about
I would come.
fancy watches.
Yeah.
Some people love fancy watches.
I'll wear like 10 and just maybe 10 on each arm.
Yeah.
Make it like a fashion show.
And we watch something during the
Watch all your episodes
during
at
a
the
watch
watch party.
party. That'd be cool.
Wow. I love this.
Yeah.
We
It's
just
great.
planned an event.
I can't wait. Thank you very much for tuning into the Creatives Podcast.
Thank you.
And remember to enjoy yourself. See you on the next episode.
Yeah. And sexy people comment below. Only sexy people.
We're all sexy.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.